right, everybody. The NFL is officially back. Some things stay the same, some things turn different. The game ends the way that I think a lot of people thought with an Eagles victory, but a game that was more competitive than many were expecting going into the game, including myself. The Philadelphia Eagles start the season 1-0, picking up the 24-20 victory over the Dallas Cowboys in this contest. It's week one football, man. And I think we all forget this every single week one before we hop into the action. We get excited about our favorite players and the stars of the game, etc., and our fantasy players. Week one football is sloppy football. Week one saw a tale of two halves in this game, where in the first half, defenses couldn't stop a nosebleed, and in the second half, offenses couldn't move the ball. Teams are consistently finding their identity, and one player being gone from a team, a la Jalen Carter or a la Micah Parsons, can change everything for both of these teams. And I think that's an important lesson to remember as we head into the week one slate. Let's talk about some of my main takeaways from this game, and then we'll kind of deep dive into it towards the end and kind of go through what happened by what happened. I think the first thing to note here is I really thought the quarterback play from both of these QBs was exceptional in this game, even though it doesn't read that statistically. Jalen Hurts was 19 of 23 passing, had the 2 rushing touchdowns, really showed off his legs in this one, his mobility in the pocket to extend plays, but as well as a runner. Jalen Hurts was a true dual threat quarterback in this game. And I'm not just referring to the fact that, yes, those 2 tush pushes were really something to pick up first downs, but Jalen Hurts in that first half, when a lot of momentum was sucked out of Philly from the Jalen Carter ejection and Dallas immediately just dog walking them down the field and scoring, Jalen Hurts responded twice in that first half with 2 massive touchdown drives that were both capped off with rushing touchdowns from Jalen that were, your real rushing touchdowns and not just a tush push. And, hats off to Jalen Hurts. I thought in the first half and a little bit into the second half, this was the most refined Jalen Hurts we have seen as a player, as he is now 26, 27 years old, going into realistically his athletic prime, as where a lot of the times quarterbacks start to figure it out mentally instead of the physical attributes at this age. Kevin Patullo, the new offensive coordinator for the Eagles, I think that there's some things still left to be desired. Obviously, Devonta Smith and A.J. Brown were both very quiet in this game. Philadelphia still won the game nonetheless, but certainly some things to polish off on that offense if you're Philly. And I got to be honest, Dak Prescott looked better than I thought he was going to. I really had some questions about Dak's mobility as we went into this game, coming off of another leg, lower body injury. And Dak looked great, man, especially again in that first half. His play extending in that first half, his ability to break sack attempts from the Eagles defensive line. He broke out of a sack from Jordan Davis, man. And I know Jordan Davis lost some weight, but that is a big body for Dak Prescott to be breaking a sack from, extending plays. Ball was on the money, really hyper-targeted CeeDee Lamb against that Adoree Jackson matchup, which Philly does need to work on that cornerback 2 spot, because Adoree Jackson is not it if this team is going to be a back-to-back champion or look to compete for a Super Bowl this year. But Dallas, man, they really impressed me on all facets. And it's odd. Philly won the game, but I leave the game more impressed with the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys were a team that many, including myself, after the Micah trade, really sold a lot of stock on. I thought that this could be a 3-5 win team. I thought this team could have a top 10 pick in the draft. And we don't want to overreact to week one because the football is sloppy. But Dallas tonight looked like a playoff team. Dak looked exceptional. The run game looks like it could be legit with Javonte Williams. Not amazing, but the offense can be 2-dimensional. CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens, Jake Ferguson, Kevontae Turpin, there's weapons. And I thought Dallas's defensive line and their defense as a whole looked really good in this game. I'm not going to say Jerry Jones was right, but the Kenny Clark trade seemingly cured up the run defense issues that Dallas had. Kenny Clark looked good, but the whole D-line as a whole looked better. Which is odd to say because we all agree that Micah Parsons is a great talent, but seemingly that defensive line got better. And Diggs and Bland being healthy as 2 premier corners in football, Dallas might be cooking with something. Dallas might be cooking with some fire. That's absolutely for certain. I do want to pull up the team stats here. just because I do think that they give a little bit better of a look into the game. Obviously, it was really close between both of these teams. You could see here Dallas, had two more first downs than Philly. In terms of the totality of the game, possession wise, Philly was able to maintain a large majority of the game on the ground, and obviously the 158 rushing yards. Jalen Hurts had 62 of them. Saquon had himself a day. And Philly's ability to maintain the game really did hold strong for them in this one. I thought the penalties was a huge storyline. 4 for 42 for Dallas, 9 for 110 for the Eagles. Again, I think it goes to show how much talent the Eagles have on their roster, that they were able to overcome giving up over an entire football field in penalties and win this game without Jalen Carter giving up these penalties. That took a lot of willpower from the Philadelphia Eagles to not fold and to still win this football game. And it's not to discredit Dallas, but I will say this. There was a lot against Philly in this spot. Some of it self-inflicted, absolutely, with Jalen Carter and Spitgate with Dak Prescott. We could talk about that another time or in the comments section. And then some of the taunting penalties. The first one on Nolan Smith, I didn't completely agree with, if I got to be honest. And then some of the unnecessary roughness penalties, just the penalties were adding up. The Eagles look like an undisciplined team. They look like a young defense, which they certainly are. And Fangio's going to have to get those guys to level up. Again, if the goal is to compete for a Super Bowl, but to be able to battle through it all, I thought showed a lot of willpower. And again, the leadership of Jalen Hurts really, really showed in this game for me personally. And at the end of the day, again, 19 to 23 passing for Jalen. He had the 2 rushing touchdowns. He was really, really solid. The 1 turnover, the fumble for Miles Sanders really swung a lot of momentum in Philly's direction. That tackle from Dak did save a touchdown from Quinyon Mitchell. So this was certainly something to look at. And again, I do think there are some key stats in the team stats section, but as I reflect on this game and I think about the key points, obviously Jalen Carter being ejected, the spit gate, Dak did spit at him first, and the ref did see that, and the ref didn't do a good job of de-escalating the situation. But that to the left, Jalen Carter has to be smarter than that. He's crossing the line of scrimmage. He's going to Dallas's side of the field. He is spitting at Dak Prescott. And, seeing it all after the fact, if the ref had seen it in full time, I probably would have issued offsetting penalties, just knowing the situation we're in. But, in real time, it's a tough thing. Absolutely. Then we get into the game. Dallas comes out, dog walks down the field. Javonte Williams and that Dallas rushing attack looked really, really legit in the first half. The Eagles defensive line without Jalen Carter looked like that they were going to be in for a very, very long day. They did ultimately figure some things out in the second half, but if I'm a Cowboys fan, I walk away from this game thinking, hey, we are in a better spot than I thought we were going to be this season. This offense looks like it could actually be two-dimensional and functional. Jalen Hurts comes out, leads that massive touchdown drive for the Philadelphia Eagles. His rushing on that first drive, picking up multiple first downs, and then scrambling into the end zone was just so special. And I thought his ability to lead that drive against Dallas's defense, calm down the crowd, or I guess get the crowd back into it, calm down the emotions of the game, flip the momentum back in Philly's favor. And then, of course, it was a back and forth game. First half was very competitive, 21-20. We saw some fireworks. We saw some DPIs. We saw Saquon get in the end zone. We saw CeeDee Lamb in this game, 7 receptions for 110 yards. He had a monster day. He was just picking apart Adoree Jackson time after time. Eventually got to the fourth quarter where the Eagles were like, fuck it. Quinyon Mitchell, you're shadowing CeeDee Lamb, and whatever happens, happens. Lamb had some really bad drops in this game. Again, it just goes back to sloppy week 1 football. I don't think these two teams are as far apart as people thought they were, but I don't think that they're necessarily as close as the score would indicate. I think Jalen Carter staying in this game makes things look a lot different. I think if the Eagles got to be less penalized, things look different. Obviously, they gave up 110 yards in penalty yards, and I'm not discrediting Dallas for that, but I'm just saying we played this game 5 to 10 times. I'd imagine Philly still does win 7 or 8 of those games, but if you're a Cowboys fan, I would leave this game thinking, like, we got something to work with, at least. And this is a team that could go to the playoffs, and with those additional first round picks, like Jerry Jones was talking about, shit, maybe they make a move at the deadline, and we see some guys step up and grow throughout the season. And Dallas it is pushing, to be the team that is rivaling Philly for this division. And if you're the Eagles, you get out of here with a win. You played some really fucking sloppy football. Jalen Hurts saved the day, played an excellent game. I can't overstate enough. I understand that statistically, Jalen Hurts with 152 passing yards and 62 rushing yards isn't going to jump off the page to anyone. And I know some people hate this, but man, on that eye test, Jalen Hurts played a phenomenal football game tonight. With A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith not open, not being schemed open, not a part of the scheme, whatever it was, his two biggest receiving weapons were MIA. And this dude consistently led drives when he needed them, consistently made plays when he needed them, all the way up until the end when he rushed to pick up the first down that ended this football game. Jalen played great football. There were some obviously high spots on the defense. I thought Zach Bond still looked like an all-pro caliber player. DeJean made some really nice plays. Jahad Campbell was decent in coverage. Once Makuba got out there, he made some plays. Nolan Smith and Jalix Hunt got going in the second half. So there are some bright spots for Philly. A lot of sloppy play to clean up. Got to clean up some attitudes, but the talent is still certainly there on this roster for Philly to have Super Bowl aspirations in 2025. But I'm on the East Coast. We finished this game at a little after midnight. It's probably close to 1 a.m. by the time this is getting uploaded. I'm going to get some sleep. As always, be sure to leave your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you love the NFL, make sure you're subscribed to this YouTube channel. We'll be back up here tomorrow night to talk about Kansas City and the Chargers. You don't want to miss that. I'll catch you then. Peace.